I'm gonna need to spike this for this video. Hey y'all, it's me, Cecilia. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here with an April wrap-up. I read a shit ton of books. So this is my April wrap-up. I read 9 books. I just realized let me turn my fan off. All right, I'm ready to sweat to death. But I read 9 books in the month of April. My average rating was a 3.3, repeating. I read a lot of shit books, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of mediocre and crap books. I did read 1 5-star, but I read 3 2-star books, and we're gonna start with those. We're just gonna go lowest to highest because why not, you know? So my most disappointing read, maybe of 2020, who knows, is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I gave this 2 stars. This. This is a classic. I believe it came out in the 1870s, something like that. But it follows our main character, Jim Hawkins. He pretty much comes upon a treasure map that goes to Billy Bones' treasure, and he pretty much, him and the help of some of his friends, just some weird old creepy guys, they get a boat and they go to go find the treasure. This was no. I did not like this. I love Treasure Planet and I love Muppet Treasure Island, and I swear to God, this all of the good, like, all the boring parts of Treasure Island are like the longest parts of this book. Like, the first 100 pages, I was really enjoying it. And then there was like 50 pages of just white nonsense. There was just 50 pages of men arguing. And if I wanted to watch men argue for 50 pages, I would just go to Walmart. I don't need to read a book about it. It was just so boring at that second half. The ending was different than any retelling ending I heard. I don't like it. Jim felt more hollow than normal because he didn't have a tying to adventuring like he normally does in different adaptations. In this one, he was just kind of like, I want money, bro. And that was his only motivation, and that was the only thing we really knew about him other than his father died. Like, I need more than you got a dead dad and you like money. I need more than that. No matter of a classic, I still need more, you know? So I didn't like this. I didn't like this, and I'm very disappointed in this. Next book I read was also a classic, and I also gave it 2 stars. Maybe I hate classics. I read Passing by Nella Larson. This is a classic. It was written in the 1920s. It follows 2 women. They are both black, but are able to pass as white because of how light their skin tone is, their some of their features, etc. One of them really uses this to her advantage. She's married to a white man who does not know that she's black, and pretty much uses it to her advantage, while the other girl realizes her privileges and kind of uses it in certain situations, but is married to a black man and doesn't really label herself like that. And it just shows them. And when I tell you this was the most boring fucking book, I was just bored. I felt like it was very interesting to see the first girl's perspective, who was lying about her race. I wish it was from her perspective. I think this book would have been so much more interesting. Hi, editing me. I wanted to talk for a second about the other point that I really didn't mention, is that mixed girls are basically turned into villains in media and literature, and it bothers me as someone who's mixed. And also the girl who lies about her race, she's also mixed. She's half white, half black, and it annoys the shit out of me because it happens in a lot of media. It happened in this book. It recently happened with the documentary series that just came out on Netflix, where of course they have to villainize the mixed girl or the light-skinned girl, and it annoys the shit out of me. Like, it just happens. Like, do we all need to be villain? I swear, I think that's just like a black girl thing in general, that it's just like, if there's only one black girl in the story, she is automatically a villain. And if there's 2 black girls, the one who is light-skinned is automatically the villain. It annoys the shit out of me. Like, do we need to be villains? Do we need to villainize people? I don't know. It annoyed the shit out of me during this entire book. Yeah, overall, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. What do you want from me? Next book I read. I'm kind of sad about this because I also got this. I met the author. I have the book signed and personalized. So you'd think I would enjoy it. But I didn't. Yeah. This is Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson. I gave this 2.5 stars. This is a YA contemporary with our main character, Jade. She goes to a private school across the city, and she is just dealing with her life as a black woman in Portland. My issue with this book and every single book in this genre, I am tired of reading about books with this very specific plot point, which I've read literally like 5 books with this exact plot point, and I'm tired of it. With a main character who is like a black teen, and they go to an all-white private school across the city, and they live in the hood, or what they claim is the hood, or etc. And they have this like a dilemma of like their school friends, and then they have this dilemma of their friends from home, and then like I'm fucking tired of it. They all read exactly the goddamn same. Dear Martin, my Nick Stone read exactly the same, but had the element of, police brutality. They Hate You Give. I never read that one because I've already read this book. I don't need to read another one in the exact same vein and exact same premise. I've read Pride by E.B. Zaboy. Similar thing where at least one of the black characters is also kind of like from the white side, I'm tired of it. Can we please get some YA black literature that is not this freaking plot point? That's all I freaking ask. And this came out in 2017, which I think was like the height of this. So that's why I give it a 2.5, to the point where it's like, it's me that doesn't like this. It's not necessarily that the book is bad. It was just very boring and generic. That's all I can say. Boring and generic. I'm just here for some spicy takes today, evidently. Next book I have is a reread. I rarely reread, but I reread this, and boy, do I regret it. Eragon by Christopher Paolini. First time I read this in the summer of 2018, and I was very new to fantasy. So when I first read it, I gave this 5 stars. I'm like, this is brilliant, amazing. A 16-year-old crafted this, my golly gee. Now, I gave it a 3 stars. I do recognize that I feel like to say it's like a 16-year-old wrote this, I can't put it at the same caliber as a 40-year-old writing this. You know what I mean? But also generic. It was. I'm not gonna lie. It was generic. This is a YA fantasy. It follows our main character Eragon, and pretty much he finds an egg in I almost said the Shire. Oh my god. Yeah. Also, this book is so dirty. He finds a book in the shrine. It's very close to the Shire. Oh my gosh, so close. In the shrine, and the egg turns out to be a dragon egg, and dragons were like thought to be extinct. So he goes on a journey with the dragon, all that stuff. So things I really like about this book, I really enjoy Eragon and Saphira as characters. I really like their relationship between like dragon and rider. Our main character Eragon, he's 15. I think he turned 16 at the end of this book, something around that age. But I like how his consequences, like his actions have consequences, which in a lot of YA fantasy is so not the case. Like, one of the first instances that I noticed this is in the beginning when he first tries to ride Saphira, just like in the hasty moment because they were trying to escape. He pretty much rides her without a saddle, and of course dragons are covered in scales, and he pretty much rips off the skin of his legs. And when you read YA fantasy, that doesn't happen. Like, things magically, like, people don't get hurt for long periods of time when things should really hurt them. But I'm happy that in this book that is realistic in that way, where it's like the progression of him getting better at magic and his progression of him getting becoming stronger. It's a progression. It just didn't happen overnight. So I really appreciate that in this book. I do enjoy the world. Still a little generic. It's just generic, and there were so many boring like passages and chapters, and I was like, can we get to the story? So I think this could have been cut down at least 50 pages, and I just think it was like a weird place to end it. I understood why they ended it where they did, but I think they could have ended it about 50 pages before and then kept the rest and put the rest in the second book. But I'm trying to decide if I should continue on with the series. I own all of them except I think the short story collection that came out that not that long ago. So I'm trying to decide if I should continue on with the series. Let me know, because if not, I'm going to get rid of the entire series. So let me know, what do you guys think? Alrighty, we're going up to the 3.5 star reads. I read this book, it's been on my shelf for about a year. Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This is a YA contemporary about our main character, Ben, and they get kicked out of their house because they came out as non-binary, and they move in with their sister, and pretty much them feeling okay with their sexuality. They aren't really out to anybody else other than, of course, their parents and their sister and their sister's husband, you know. And it also follows the romance between Nathan and Ben. I really enjoyed the rep. I know that the rep is good. I've heard from non-binary authors that it's good rep. So I really appreciate that, and I feel like I was able to not exactly like learn more about the I would say learn more about the non-binary perspective. I thought that was really interesting. My qualms with this book. Ben as a main character infuriates me. I'm going to say right now, if me and Ben were in a room, I would throw some hands. Ben as a character, all they do in this book is blame everything that happens on other people and does not take responsibility for their actions. Like, at one point, Ben is upset because they have no friends, but then, as I've seen throughout the entire book, is that Ben keeps pushing people away who are very obviously wanting to be friends with them, and they were like, oh, it's other people don't like me. I'm like, no, it's because you need to get off your high horse. You need to get off your ass. I'm sorry. And I need to realize that because when I was 16, I did that kind of stuff too. But I feel like it happens all the time in YA contemporaries where characters are like this. But I feel like, at least when I was 16 and reading books like this, where at no point where the character was told or shown, and like basically the worst part I would say about it is that it's not challenged. Ben's thinking of like everything that happens bad in their life is because of other people and not themselves is harmful thinking. And the fact that it's not challenged at any part of the book is not good. Because at least when I was 16, I read a lot of YA contemporary, or at least I think I did. I don't know. That whole time of my life is I'm blacked out, you know? But I read a lot of books where main characters were like that and it wasn't challenged. So I would think in my head that my way of thinking was correct, and that is why bad things would happen to me. It was never my fault. It was always everybody else's fault. And when YA contemporary continues to do this, we need to stop that shit. I'm sorry, but I could not stand Ben as a main character. No. Also, the relationship between Ben and Nathan was very rushed. It felt like very friend zone, and then just one night, boom, we're in love. And I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Where did the feelings come from? Where did the feelings come from? Because a second ago, you did not want to associate with Nathan, but now you're automatically like, wow, I love him. Where was the progression? So if you want to read a book with non-binary rep, I think you will enjoy this. I wouldn't specifically say I'll recommend it, but I think you'll enjoy it. Alright, now the 3.5 star book I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is an adult thriller. Pretty much, we have a main character, I literally don't remember her name. She pretty much gets a job apartment sitting in the Bartholomew Hotel, which is a very kind of like famous hotel. One, because of like this book that was like set in the hotel, but also just because of like the lore in like Manhattan and stuff like that. And a lot of weird things are starting to happen around in the hotel, and she's trying to find out like what happened. I enjoyed my time reading it, but then upon reflection, it is a ride. It is a fun ride. I read most of this in one sitting, but when I read, if you've read or watched Rosemary's Baby, you've read this book. exactly the same vibes. Exactly the same vibes. To the point, and I was talking to Brody from Ed2 Brody about this, and I was telling them, like, this book just has, like, feels so much like Rosemary's Baby that it feels like a copy. Like, it feels like a copy. And they found an article about it saying that Riley Sager was very inspired by Rosemary's Baby in this book. But inspired? Were you inspired or were you blatant copying? It feels way too similar to Rosemary's Baby, which is why I can't give it a 4 stars. It's just like, be your own book. You know what I mean? If you have to heavily inspire by another classic book like that because you can't come up with anything better, I'm sorry, I can't give you a higher rating. It's just, be original, be unique in some way. Just, no, that's all I'm gonna say. Be original, Riley Sager. I haven't read your other 2 books, but be original. So I'm getting into my 4-star reads at the moment. And the next book I read was Vampire Nights by Matsuri Hondo. Wow. Matsuri Hino, I'm sorry. This is a manga series. I watched the anime long ago. One of the first anime I've ever watched. But I found this at Half Price Books for like $1, and I was like, you know what? I never read the manga. Let's go. And it's trash. It is so trash, but it is glorious. It's glorious trash. So pretty much we follow our main character Yuki. She is an orphan and she's pretty much adopted by the headmaster of this one school after her parents were killed by a vampire. And pretty much she and her adopted brother, whose parents were also killed by vampires, are like the disciplinary committee at this high school. Now there's 2 sections of the high school. There's the day class and the night class. The night class are full of vampires and the day class full of humans. And the day class, like, they're pretty much Yuki's like mission is to make sure the day class does not find out that the night class are vampires. And she has this weird attraction to like the head vampire there. Yes. And if you want Twilight vibes in a book, this is perfect for you. This would be perfect for you because when I tell you if you want the trash of Twilight, if you want the vampire vibes, if you want that weird, I wouldn't say it's a gothic feel, but you know the feel that Twilight gives you, especially the movies, this book, hands down, will give it to you. Or the anime gives it to you too. I guess I would say my gripes with this is that the amount of repetition in this manga, I swear every 3 pages they would explain about the night class and the day class. Like, I'm not 4 years old. I understand. I get it after the first time you told me. You know? You didn't need to remind me every goddamn page, you know? You can say that it's generic, you know, but I didn't come for this book for revolutionary writing. I didn't come to Vampire Night for something spectacular and new. I came for some trash, you know what I mean? And I was satisfied with the trash I got. I'm going to continue on with the series. Next book on my list. It's a book that I really enjoyed. The next 2 are the same genre, and I think this is like a sign that I'm really starting to like this genre again. The next book I read was The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This is a YA historical fiction. It follows our main character Jo, and she's an orphan. She lives in Atlanta, and she, like, in the beginning of the book, she gets fired from her hat job pretty much because she's Chinese, and you see a lot of the racism that she is impacted by because she lives in the South in I think it's 1890 that this is happening. Living in the basement with her adopted father of these, like, they're basically squatters in the basement of this newspaper family's house, of this newspaper's owner's family. That was a weird way to explain it. And she overhears one night that they have been like losing subscribers, and if they don't get about 400 subscribers in the next month, that they were going to have to shut down or find new investors. And so she basically was like, I'm going to help this paper, and I'm going to she's going to anonymously write a column as Miss Sweetie, pretty much just talking about like womanly things. That sounds weird. just basically talking about different things. And she becomes very popular, but nobody, of course, knows that she's Chinese. I actually learned a lot from this book. I feel like from historical fiction, I don't walk into it expecting it to be completely factual. Like, that's just stupid. It's called fiction for a reason, you know? But I would like to at least learn a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, I want at least some point of historical accuracy, and I had never read about anything. Of course, I've read about, like, racism in the 1800s, but not from, like, an Asian perspective, especially in the South. And it was so interesting. I had no clue. No clue. So I learned just so much just from reading this book. And it was so good. So good. I guess I would say the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is that I don't know if this is going to last the test of time. Maybe in about 3 to 4 months, if I'm constantly thinking about this book, I'll give it a 5 star. But it's really good. If you want to get more into historical fiction, I highly recommend this one. And May is Asian Heritage Month, and the Asian Readathon is happening, so you should really pick up this book. Highly recommend. Alright, so the last book I'm going to talk about is... Ow! The last book I'm going to talk about is a 5-star read. It's so good. So good. One of my favorites of the year so far. It is Bloodwater Paints by Joy McCullough. This is a historical fiction, I believe it's an adult, written in prose. I swear, books written in prose just get me. I don't know what it is. Like this... Ugh, beautiful. So we follow our main character, Artemisa, and she is a painter. Her father is a painter as well, but since she is a woman, it is... What year does this take place in? 1610. The early 1600s in Rome. She doesn't get credit for her painting. Basically, her father takes all the credit for the painting, even though she does pretty much the entire painting. And you see her just kind of trying just to live her life, to learn more about painting, about artistry, and she just really wants to become, like, she wants to be known for her work. And she gets sexually assaulted and by a teacher that her father hires, and she takes him to court. And this book is heartbreaking, like absolutely heartbreaking. I cried a little bit at the end. Absolutely heartbreaking. So if you are triggered by sexual assault, there's a little bit of body horror at the very end, so be careful. It's not extremely explained, but it does happen, so I wanted to share that. But if you're triggered by those things, I might not recommend picking this book up, but they don't go into extreme detail about it, if you're wondering. But again, this was beautifully written, and the subject matter, like, when I felt like I was in Rome while reading this book, which was so nice. And I have not felt for a main character in a hot minute like this. Like, Artemisa, I fucking love you, bitch. And this book is based off a real character, a real person. Artemisa was real, and this did happen to her. So it's based off this time of her life, and beautiful book. I highly recommend, highly, if you want something that's fast to read, because this book is only like a little less than 300 pages and written in prose, that you will get through this very quickly, and it is just so beautiful. I highly recommend this. But yeah, that was the 9 books I read in, what month is it? April, I almost said May. So that was the 9 books I read in April. Let me know what you guys read, and let me know if I should continue on with the Eragon series. I really need to know. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. See you in another video soon. Peace.